Hello, everyone. Welcome to our very first knowledge clip about your digital firm writing assignments. So this is going to be a general introductory video where we're essentially going to be looking at the writing assignment, some general tips and notes that I have for your writing assignment, and places to get started. So of course, your digital firm writing assignment during this course, or basically what the assignment is about, is potential factors that can impact the growth and market power of digital platforms. So, for example, multi-homing, envelopment, and so on. So, these are topics that you should have been covering during your actual course. And essentially, in this assignment, you want to focus on one of these factors that were discussed in the readings and essentially address what is the potential consequence of one of these factors on consumers and or employees. So you focus on one. So in particular, in case of this, you want to get a overall grasp of the effects on business strategy and again, the effects on either consumers or employees. So obviously this year, there's a couple of things that are a little bit different than previous years. Firstly, that there are two assignments. Definitely, if you have not yet, I would recommend doing the first assignment and turning it in for some, basically easy feedback from your tutorial teacher. If not, in general, even if you don't turn in the assignment, I would just recommend simply making an outline for yourself because that will definitely help you in getting started with your writing assignment just for your own personal development. So, of course, you have your first assignment and then we have the second assignment or the final draft. Now, as I mentioned, this course or the writing assignment is a bit different than previous years, namely in the sense that there are only 2,000 words allowed for the writing assignment, while previously it was 3,000 words. So you definitely need to be a bit more short and concise with everything. Another really big difference is that this year there is no longer an analysis section. You essentially only have the introduction, the theoretical background, and the conclusions and recommendations for future research. So that's also a really big component that is missing now. And lastly, of course, you have the help of AI this year. So that's also something very different from previous years. Now you can also use AI to help you in your search process and kind of creating a general rough draft of your final paper. So that's also something that is super, super important to note for this year. And again, that's one of the bigger differences in the assignment. So let's go ahead and go through each of the sections one by one. So firstly, we have the introduction. I would recommend around 200 to 400 words. I would go on the side of 400. You can even a little bit more is also fine. But the goal is to be as concise as possible with these components to make sure that you can fit everything into the 2,000 word count. So in the introduction, you really want to focus on kind of setting the scene and setting the background for what is your research question and what is the relevance behind your research question. You also want to discuss how you're going to answer your research question and then the overall structure of your paper. So very, very context building and establishing the relevance for your research question and then therefore what is your research question. So this is where already you can get a bit more into the specifics of what exactly are you focusing on for your research question, which factor are you focusing on, and also are you focusing on consumers versus employees. Then you have your theoretical background. This is going to be, I would recommend, the lengthiest part of your writing assignment, simply because here you essentially are creating your criteria for how to essentially grade your research question and evaluate your research question. But you also, in the theoretical background, are probably going to do a teeny bit of analysis, simply because obviously it's being skipped over in the writing assignment as a separate section. So definitely in the theoretical background, it's important that you define some key terms, anything that is relevant for your research question. One that you should define for sure is digital platform, since obviously that is what your factor is relating to. And then, again, other concepts that you decide to focus on are truly dependent on your research question and essentially what track you decide to go into. Use the literature that's been used in class, use academic sources, and use AI as kind of just an extra tool for that. But make sure to not, blatantly copy and paste what AI is suggesting into the actual assignment. And then, once you have your theoretical background, your criteria, and your evaluation of your research question done, then, of course, you go into your conclusions, recommendations, and overall opinion. Here, I recommended a little bit more of a word count simply because, we're missing the analysis section completely, so this needs to be a little bit more thorough. And the main recommendations that I would have for the conclusion is, again, what is the conclusion based on your research? What is the answer that you find to your research question? The extent to which this particular factor affects X party in a digital platform. And this is also where you provide some limitations and suggestions for future research. So, based on your own analysis of the literature and what your findings are, how do you then suggest a study for the future? One thing that's also important, as I mentioned, is the AI. So make sure that you, include your AI logbook. And again, you are not allowed to paraphrase, not allowed to directly take, words and paragraphs from AI into your essay directly. So again, this should be more of a tool rather than end all be all writing your essay. A couple other things for the requirements: APA style. So make sure you're doing your citations correctly. That's very easy points. Use at least 6 academic resources. And again, really make sure to include the logbook because you can get knocked down 4 points, which is pretty massive. Um, in terms of the notes, again, start now. So do assignment one, even if the deadline has passed, totally fine. Do assignment one. Start your literature search. Start using AI to kind of help you create a general rough, bare bones of an outline. Also, isolate some key terms in your research question and go to Google Scholar for that. Listen to your tutorial group teacher. They are grading your assignment, so they know best and they have a preference. For particular, let's say, research or particular sources. So make sure to listen to them as well and suit their basically preferences. And last thing is just to get already into the mode of academic writing. So make sure that your paper avoids personal pronouns, personification of non-living items, informal language, and in-text citations as well. And make sure you know how to do those correctly. These are things that are going to be really, really easy points to collect, but also are the things that you can easily lose points for if you don't do them correctly. So just be careful about this and make sure that you are keeping an eye out for these things, even whenever you're getting started with your just initial drafts of the writing assignment. That is basically the introduction to how to start approaching your paper. I hope that it was helpful, and there will be another one coming soon about the introduction. So thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the next one.